Today is Friday, August 21st, 2026. Welcome to This Week in Natural Refrigerants News, where we recap the top stories on naturalrefrigerants.com. This podcast is generated and read by artificial intelligence and may contain errors. We're your hosts, AT and MO, and the articles for today's podcast were organized by naturalrefrigerants.com's managing editor and written by its writers. You can find links to each article in the show notes. And today we are looking at some really interesting stuff, like, the hidden financial traps of keeping legacy equipment alive, turning supermarkets into massive thermal batteries, and a pretty tough question about whether our fixes are actually delaying ozone recovery.
Yeah, that last one is definitely an eye-opener. But let's start with the regulatory pushback that's happening right now.
Right, the NRDC lawsuit.
Exactly. The Natural Resources Defense Council is officially suing over the EPA's recent revision to the Technology Transitions Rule.
Okay, yeah, this is the one where they rolled back the compliance deadlines, right?
Right. Delaying the 150 and 300 GWP limits for new supermarket equipment, pushing it from 2027 all the way back to 2032.
Wait, hold on. The EPA is saying this rollback saves retailers money, right?
That's their claim, yeah.
And, on the surface, if I'm a supermarket owner and I don't have to buy a completely new system until 2032, that keeps a ton of upfront cash in my pocket today. Like, how is the NRDC doing the math to get a near $8 billion annual loss out of that?
It sounds counterintuitive, I know.
Not to mention the extra 68 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent emissions hitting the atmosphere.
Right. But that upfront savings is kind of an illusion when you step back and look at the wider HFC phase down.
Oh, really? How so?
Because the original rule only ever applied to new or remodeled systems anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, legacy equipment could always be kept until it needed replacing. But the real financial trap here is that HFCs are getting incredibly scarce, due to all the ongoing production cuts.
Right.
By delaying the transition for new builds, the overall demand for HFCs stays artificially high, which just drives up the cost of the gas itself. So chains are ultimately going to pay drastically more just to service their existing leaky systems.
Wow, okay, because of the shortages. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, supermarkets in the U.S. are getting tangled in, HFC shortages and policy delays. Others are actually figuring out how to turn their current retrofits into a revenue stream.
Oh, you're talking about the Brattleboro Food Co-op in Vermont.
Yes. Because of space constraints, they had to replace a severely leaky R404A setup, and they went with a 32.1-ton piecemeal solution.
Right. They use those roof-mounted river-cold CO2 condensing units.
Yeah, the CN and MHX lines alongside R290 monoblocks for their walk-ins, the bold and best lines.
Yeah, the hardware is great, but what truly stands out there is their flexible load management pilot.
Yes, this is fascinating.
They are essentially treating this refrigeration system as a massive thermal battery. So right before peak energy hours hit, they drop their ice cream storage temperatures from minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit down to minus 20 degrees.
Oh, I see. So it's literally like plugging your smartphone in to get to 100% right before you leave the house.
Exactly.
So you can just coast through the afternoon when you don't have access to an outlet. They overcool when power is cheap and then coast when the grid is stressed.
Right. And by floating the refrigeration set points during high electrical demand periods, they actually secure demand response compensation from their local utility.
That is brilliant.
It's a great way to balance grid demand while upgrading your infrastructure.
It really is. And that kind of strategic natural refrigerant adoption isn't just happening in North America. The market in South America is hitting a serious inflection point right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Atmosphere Latam has officially been announced for April 19th and 20th, 2027, down in Santiago, Chile.
The timing makes perfect sense, honestly, when you look at what's driving the market down there. By December 2025, the number of transcritical CO2 sites in Latin America jumped 23.5%.
Wow.
Yeah, to 840 total sites.
That is a rapid acceleration.
It really is. And it's being fueled by falling technology costs and local operators realizing that these systems are now highly competitive for both commercial and industrial applications.
Even in warmer climates, yeah. And seeing zero-emission tech scale up globally is great, especially when local regulations force the issue. Take Linden, for instance. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries just installed a 90-kilowatt CO2 heat pump system at the Adagio Hotel.
Oh, right, using 3 of their Qton units.
Exactly.
Providing 75 degrees Celsius hot water for 140 units is impressive, but the real driver here is urban environmental policy.
Right.
This system was chosen specifically to meet the London plan's incredibly strict, no local no-NOx emissions requirements. Traditional gas boilers simply can't clear those air quality standards anymore.
They just can't, yeah.
It is a definitive shift. Local city regulations are directly dictating the move to high-temperature CO2 solutions over fossil fuels.
So local policies are pushing us toward natural solutions, which, frankly, makes the ongoing reliance on synthetics look even more problematic, especially when you trace them back to how they are manufactured.
Oh, you mean the IMPA-led study?
Yeah, the new one published in Nature Communications. It is pretty alarming.
It's a critical finding. The researchers discovered that carbon tetrachloride, or CCl4, which is heavily used as a feedstock for HFO production, is leaking into the atmosphere at a rate of 4.3%.
Wait, 4.3%. For context, what did the Montreal Protocol assume?
They've long assumed a leakage rate of just 0.5% for feedstocks.
That is a staggering discrepancy.
And the implications are severe. Because of this elevated leakage from continued synthetic production, they estimate the recovery of the mid-latitude stratospheric ozone layer could be delayed by a full 7 years.
7 years. So pushing it all the way back to 2073.
Yep, 2073.
Man, it really makes you wonder, as the industry continues to lean on synthetics that require these ozone-depleting feedstocks to manufacture, are we just trading one environmental crisis today for a delayed version of another tomorrow?
That is exactly the question the industry needs to be asking itself right now. We can't afford to get this wrong twice.
This is AT&MO, and this has been the Week in Natural Refrigerant News.